So we'll start down here with the dock. The Finder has had a makeover. Okay, it used to be that the devices were always at the top. Now it's your folders that are at the top, and you've got an option here to view all my files here, which may or may not prove to be useful. I'll have to look at that. Also, second down is this thing called Airdrop, which is where you can easily transfer documents between computers that are on your wireless network or whatever you've got at home. Supposedly without any configuration, but I think both computers that you're trying to transfer to must be running Lion. As I say, not had a chance or a reason to want to check that out yet. Right, that's the Finder. Okay, this is Launchpad. Has had lots of YouTube coverage, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically it looks like your iPhone now. Okay, and you can just go, you can either swap between these documents here, or you can just do a one finger swipe on your mouse to move backwards and forwards between them. Okay. Similarly, Mission Control has also had a lot of coverage on YouTube. I haven't really had too much of a chance to use it, but what it does is it shows open windows that are on your computer. Let's just see if we can open a couple of them, shall we? Let's just open Excel. Do a blank workbook. And let's do iTunes. Okay, there we go. So now if I hit Mission Control, you'll see that on my first desktop here, I've got two windows that I've just opened. And if you've got multiple Excel documents open or whatever, then they'll stack behind each other and you can just go and click and select the one you want, which is very quick. It doesn't work quite the same way that Expose used to work on the old Mac OSs. But yeah, it's still convenient nonetheless. It does mean that you haven't got to try and manipulate loads of open documents on your desktop. So that's Mission Control. The App Store has been with us since later versions of Snow Leopard, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. All these others here are my, as I say, files or programs that I've got on my dock, so that's not a problem. And the dock works similarly to as it always has done, I think, although I'm not quite sure. But the stacks seems to be slightly revised. If we open it up in Snow Leopard, they actually added this scroll bar to the stacks. But from here, you can actually drag items elsewhere on the desktop. For example, to the trash, and I've never had calls to use Comic Life, so it's going. Goodbye, Comic Life. Yes, so that's that. Other features that are in Lion. First of all, there seems to be a little bit of consternation about the fact that they've changed the way that that things scroll. Okay, let's just come out of that for the moment. For example, in iTunes, for example, I've got a great list of my songs here, and if normally, if you want to see what's sort of here, there's Take a Chance on Me, there's Eagle. If you want to see what's below that, then you had to move your mouse down to see what was below that. But now you move the content. It's the content rather than the mouse that you're worrying about. Okay, if you want the content to move up, you scroll with your mouse finger up. Okay, I don't know what those exclamation marks are. Oh God, loads of them. But anyway, so you move up. If you wanted to move down, you scroll down. And when I stop scrolling, you'll notice that the scroll bar should do. When I stop scrolling, oh, yeah, it does. Stop scrolling and the scroll bar disappears on the side. Start scrolling and it appears again. Okay, and that goes in the opposite direction from the way you're moving your finger. Right, but it does. You do get used to it fairly quickly. it doesn't just work for scrolling up and down. If I go into Safari, okay, if I nip to YouTube for a minute, and now, oh, I've got to sign in, have I? Don't know why that is. Yeah, so if I now go to a few things in my YouTube channel, visit my channel, visit my videos. God, that's an ugly picture. Visit my subscriptions. Right, now, I'm bored with looking at my subscriptions, so I want to go back. Now, up here, there's the back button, which moves you back, and you would imagine that scrolling to the left would get you back, but it doesn't. It's like the pages of a book. You actually have to go back a page. You have to scroll your finger to the right, okay? And to go forward a page, you scroll to the left, because that's the way you would turn pages in a book, and that's the way that it works on the iPad. And really, these buttons here are getting less and less relevant in Mac OS. Okay, because the finger swipes, one finger will move you backwards and forwards. It's slightly awkward because, as I say, you know, this is how we've always been doing things. And also in the last version of Mac OS, it was, and I think in the one before as well, it was always a two-finger gesture on the Magic Mouse at any rate, which is what I'm using. I haven't got a Magic Trackpad, but yeah, the Magic Mouse used to use two fingers to get you to swipe. I suppose it's a bit easier this way. The two-finger swipes are used to switch between full-screen applications, which I may or may not remember to show you. Okay, so there's a quick view of scrolling. It does actually become intuitive. It is intuitive. It's the way scrolling always should have been, except that, you know, for the last 20 odd years, and you know, the use of PCs and everything as well, it hasn't been like that. But that's the way it should be, and they actually call it natural scrolling. Okay, I'm going to have a little look at autosave. Now, this is the second time I've made this video, and the last time I did it, I made a few mistakes. So I warn you that perhaps, yes, we might still make mistakes. All right, so here's Pages. Okay, let's go to a blank document in Pages. Okay, now up here it says it's untitled. All right, so first of all, if I just type in something, I'll make my font larger, because although Control and using the mouse button does actually zoom you in and out, the screen recording capture software that I'm using, which is QuickTime X, for some reason has decided not to actually show that. All right, so anyway, here we go, autosave document. There we go. In fact, actually, I'll just call it autosave. All right, just for the minute. There's a reason. There's madness in my method. All right, so now I'm going to come out of that document. Okay, it does ask if you want to save the changes. All right, so if I call this one auto save in Pages, because this is what I'm using at the moment. This is not Word. Save. All right, it'll come up. Oh, it's gone now. It's gone because I was getting rid of it. Okay, so now I need to go back to my desktop to open that document up. Okay, so I should see autosave in Pages. I'll open that up. All right, autosave document. Okay, and now the title comes up here, the word edited comes up here because I've just edited that document. If I go out of it, it will now just disappear, right? But it has saved my changes in it, right? So now I open it up again, right? And there it is, autosave document in Pages. Okay, and then if you hop on here, you've now got a menu. Okay, you've got lock. That means you can't make any more changes to that document. Duplicate means make a duplicate of the document. Revert to last opened version will send you back to the last opened version. Browse all versions. This is the interesting bit. Right, if I click on this, it will give you like a time machine view of your documents. So there we go. All right, and there's the version that I'm currently working on. That was the last version that was auto-saved, and behind that was the first version that I use. So you can go back at any stage if you're trying to edit a hefty document or something and you want to go back to something that you've had before and retrieve it, then you can. I think also you can copy and paste between versions in this view, which is pretty darn good. All right, but I'm just going to go back to how it was. Says I. Done. Okay. So that's all very well. That works pretty well. I'm glad that you do actually have to give the document a title before the autosave thing starts to come in, because otherwise you could get very lazy. As it is, this super thing called Spotlight here is really cool. It's been in Mac OS since version 10.4, which was Tiger. Is index searching, which is now in Vista and Windows 7 as well. But at the time that it came out, I don't think anybody had seen anything like it. And basically, you don't really have to worry too much about where you're storing your files, because you just type in something that's in the document in there, and up will come. For example, here's a list of some of the most used ABBA things that I've got on my system. Okay, an improvement to Spotlight is this fact that you can now go out and search the web for it, and you can also search Wikipedia for your query. Okay, but what I was basically saying is that kind of like discourages people from actually filing their documents properly. Now, I actually like filing documents properly, having separate folders for this and folders within folders for that. But what I don't like, especially on a large system where, I mean, we still use XP at work, and we've got a huge network, and it's just a pain in the jack to have to constantly keep drilling down between folder and folder and folder. So this is a really simple way of getting access to work, as long as you know something that's actually in the document, or the title of the document that you saved. Then it's very easy to actually find what you want, and very, very quick. And I use it all the time. But as I say, it could make you lazy, and with this auto-saving thing as well, there's also the chance that you could become lazy. Now, that's all very well. All right, and so far I'm liking Lion until this is an Apple application, Logic Express. Up it comes. Okay, now Logic Express has always had its own saving system. It's very awkward, really, to find certain elements of documents. So this has always had its auto-saving system. It always has come up with the last thing you did, but where's autosave? Autosave in this does not work. You constantly have to remember to be hitting Command and Save. Now, you would have thought that Apple would have included an update for Logic Express to make autosave work. It can be an absolute lifesaver. Because obviously when you're dealing with sound and you're dealing with recording voices and whatever, you might want to go back to what you had before and use that time machine view, because yes, you flunked a track and you want to go back to an earlier version of it or something like that. So come on, Apple, get autosave into Logic, and more importantly, get all of the programs on the system to work in the same way. Even if I go into Word, all right, let's hop into Word here. All right, yes, it's Microsoft. Okay, and you might well say that Microsoft have the onus on them to make sure that their things work. All right, but actually, it doesn't. Okay, if I come out of that, there we go. Let's do another one. Okay, let's nip here to, let's move that out of the way. Let's go to a larger font. Okay. Can I autosave in Word? Right, so here we go. All right, I will save that onto the desktop. So that's saved. And now I will try to do an autosave. All right, can I autosave in Word? Probably not. Okay, now there's certainly no edit sign here. There's no way, oh shoot, there's no way of actually managing to click on that to get that little menu that I showed you and that occurred in Pages. All right, if I try and escape that, it will say, do you want to save the changes? And I'll say no, because I don't really want to. But yeah, so that doesn't work in there. And that's a pain in the neck, really, Apple. You need to sort that one out, okay? Otherwise, it becomes, I mean, this is supposed to be an operating system, which means that things, applications and things should all work in a uniform way. And at the moment, they actually don't, all right? So you need to press your developers and people like that that actually work with you to get things to work the same way. And certainly your own applications, like Pages, for example, ought to do that. Okay, autosave is a good concept. In the past, things like iTunes and Aperture and iPhoto, they all had their own systems for saving things, which meant you never ever had to worry about saving anything. As soon as you put a picture in there, it's there until you delete it. For example, in Aperture or iPhoto, as soon as it's there until you delete it. Which, yeah, it's good, but if you ever want to try and find one of your pictures, or songs in iTunes or whatever, it can be a pain in the neck trying to find out exactly where it's been saved. And again, iTunes is easier. You just right click and choose Show in the Finder. With Aperture and iPhoto, for example, it's a good deal harder than that. There isn't a Show in Finder thing that I can ever get to work that isn't greyed out in Aperture, for example. Yeah, so autosave is like a compromise between that. You know where you've stored it, or you can use Spotlight to find it, but it doesn't worry you constantly to save the changes when you leave that document. So if you ever quit out of something by accident, then the document is still there with the latest changes in it. But yeah, Apple, you just need to be consistent so that people know what to expect. Okay, before I go, what I will do, I will quickly show you full screen applications. Okay, so there's a full screen application. That's Logic Express. Okay, you can switch between full screen applications or between any other applications or between windows now by swiping backwards and forwards with 2 fingers. Okay, I feel like using 2 fingers at the moment because I haven't the faintest idea what's going on. Let's make that full screen. Okay, and use 2 fingers to swipe. Okay, It's not the most wonderfully smooth thing, but that's possibly because I'm using an older iMac. This is from 2009. It's a 2.66 gig Core 2 Duo processor, which was the basic iMac model at the time. It's got 4 gig of RAM in it, which it originally only came with 2 gig. But I've got a feeling that buying more RAM would make this a little bit more, sort of a little bit smoother. Okay, and again, you go the way. What? Come on, you bitch. Sorry, language, Timothy. Yeah, you see, you should be able to do that. Yeah, let's do a full screen iTunes as well, because this is really to swipe between full screen applications. Okay, they do look brilliant in iTunes. Okay, now the way that I've, yeah, it might just be to do with my screen capture software, but that's all flickery and not good. Yeah, now the way that I've got this configured at the moment, I've got a nice quick and easy swipe to get you to the desktop, and I use this top corner here to do that, okay? But you can't do that in full screen applications. Indeed. Oh, that's brought me back down. Yeah, it's usually a lot smoother than that. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But yeah, you can't get out of the full screen application to do a quick swipe. Like throw that up there, doesn't work. Okay, you have to come out of there and then swipe to the desktop. Okay, I could probably change my mouse settings to maybe use a different corner or something like that. But yeah, so that adds an extra step in there for you to do that. But yeah, the full screen applications look fantastic, and if you're going to sit in Word or whatever you're using, although I don't think Word has got a full screen thing on it, because surprise surprise, it hasn't been updated. No, it hasn't got a full screen thing in it. But yeah, okay, so you're going to sit in Pages for ages. It could be useful to have a full screen thing, and it does look really nice. So yeah, mixed feelings then about this Lion thing. Yeah, it looks nice. The scrolling stuff is good and very natural, and I like it. And you know, once again, it looks great, but under the hood, there are a few inconsistencies which need to be sorted out, especially as these are being touted as brand new features, etc., and so forth. I was hoping that it wouldn't be so dependent on the software to get this autosave thing to work. I was hoping that the operating system would take care of all that for you. As it is, I had to do an update to get iWork, i.e. Pages and Numbers and what have you, to put the autosave and full screen features in there. They won't just work if you just upgrade to Lion alone. You have to update the software as well. But it's a free software update, and you just go up here to the Apple and choose software update. Okay, all right. So last thing before I shoot off, in Safari, when you've got multiple tabs open, in the past, certainly in Snow Leopard, logging out has been a bit of a pain in the neck. And I made a video about it called an annoying Mac OS feature. And that seems to have been resolved now. I can log out. I won't do it because otherwise I'll lose this video. But you can now log out, and all the applications will quit and log out. But again, part of the autosave feature business is that it will now, when you log back in again, it will go back to the programs that are open on the dock when you previously logged out. So that's actually quite a good thing. All right. But yeah, Apple, I think perhaps 6.5 out of 10. You'll get the other 3.5 when you sort out this auto saving business and make it a bit more consistent. Okay, bye.